I have a trusted friend who goes to watch Georgia practice a lot. He says when you go there, you can't tell the difference between the first string players, the second string, and the third string guys. That's what Gary Danielson said a season ago while watching Georgia beat up on Tennessee. And that's one of the things that's separating Georgia from a lot of the teams in the East and pretty much everybody, with a few exceptions, in the West. This Georgia team has been built from top to bottom with guys the likes of which you just don't see at a lot of places with the depth that you see at Georgia. You know, when Kirby started his time in Athens, it really began with an understanding and an acknowledgement that the big guys weren't big enough, or really good enough in many ways, and that's what he has worked on from that moment in 2000 and just before Christmas in 2015. Now it's years later, and if you recall, at the beginning of the Kirby Smart era, um, the offensive line was not great. It wasn't horrible, but it was a different type of style than what Georgia has had going. What they wanted to do in the future with Sam Pittman, they wanted to maul people. Well, they couldn't maul people with the guys they had. They just weren't huge guys. And I have people that I know, know that would say, that just wasn't our style, and slowly it became their style. I mean, Georgia under Mike Bobo was a run team that was built on angles and athleticism on the offensive line. Under Sam Pittman, Georgia became a very large-bodied mauling style, and that worked very well for a long time for Georgia under Sam Pittman. And you got to remember, they only lost what 5 games in 2 years when Sam was there. No, it was not even. Let's see. So I'm talking about after 16. So they had 17, 18, 19. They lost 7 games in 3 years, and the bulk of their games in that time were total blowouts because of the way that Georgia was manhandling people. But really, what made Georgia's run to the national championship in 2021 such a big deal were the big guys on the defensive side of the ball. You know, when I flip through Dogstruction, it's the big guys. And that's Devontae Wyatt putting DJ Ugalele on his ass. That's Jordan Davis jumping on top of DJ Ugalele. That's Jordan once more. Trayvon Walker absolutely burying a South Carolina quarterback. These three guys, first round draft picks likely. We know two of the three of them are. I remember when Kirby and company were playing Arkansas in that game, that at one point Georgia came to the sideline and Kirby kept sticking his fist into his open hand and slapping it real hard. Here's another big guy right there, Jordan Davis. Check that. You're not going to see that image anywhere else. Make sure you're picking up Dogstruction. The link is down below. We're heading into the summer. I want to make sure y'all get this for graduates, your dads, or for yourself. It's an awesome gift. If you want me to sign it, let me know. I've had a lot of those requests. I'll be happy to do that. The number one way to support us is by checking Dogstruction out. The link is below. He was doing this talking about during the Arkansas game. I don't think I used that image in the book, but it's one that I've seen him do quite a bit over time. And it's just a symbol for them mauling people. And they mauled Arkansas that day. And that's what Sam would like to do. I mean, he would like to maul people. So then you bring in, Matt Luke, who changed the style slightly. They weren't as much maulers, but boy, they were really pretty good as an offensive line protecting and also too, running the ball. Look at the way they had production in 2021 running the football. But that's where you see it, are the big guys, the offensive line, the defensive line. I remember seeing South Carolina's 2010 team, excuse me, 2011 team up close, and that was like Jadeveon Clowney's second game. You had him, I think it was Corey Ingram, and they had players on that defensive line, and it separated them. And that's what and in Clemson in the middle 2000s, that's what separated them from everybody else. Well, it helped them win the national championship, that and two generational quarterbacks. And now we've seen the difference at Georgia. And it's not just Jadeveon Clowney. Okay, that's why Carolina didn't get it done, because they only had one, and the depth was not unbelievable. I mean, they had Corey Ingram and Jadeveon. I mean, they had some players. Melvin, I can't remember his last name. Maybe it was Melvin Ingram. Excuse me. Keep saying Corey Ingram, and he was a hell of a player. But they didn't have backing up Trayvon Walker, etc. Was Devontae Wyatt or Nolan Smith, or I mean, they were throwing uh, Stackhouse and Carter, or Ingram Dawkins looks great now. Georgia's got guys on the offensive line. This is as well. I mean, you look at who's coming back. They have multiple starters coming back. Truss, McClendon, Ratledge, Jones. These are all guys that have started. I'm leaving out Cedric Van Pran. These are all guys that have started. Amarius Mims looks like he very well could be a first-round draft pick. He's never played a significant snap at Georgia. And that Tennessee game also gave me, if you want, go back and watch the Tennessee game and listen to the CBS crew. That was Gary Danielson that had that quote. Everybody wants to hate on Gary Danielson. Okay, fine, but whatever. But go back and watch that game and fast forward it to the second drive. Xavier Truss is in there. Broderick Jones is in there. Jamari didn't play in that game. He was sick. That was a game where Georgia had multiple guys, the big guys, that were sick that day. I don't remember if it was the defensive line or the offensive line, but definitely Jamari did not play. So they were rolling in there with other guys. They slammed Tennessee and they pushed them around all they wanted to. And that's the type of stuff, that's what changed with Georgia in Kirby's time. Mark Richt, when he had an outstanding offensive line like 2002, they were really hard to deal with. But not, this Georgia team now, what's different is when you look out there, yes, Jordan Davis, there's not two of him. But uh, there are guys that look like Trayvon Walker on the team. They don't look exactly like him, and there's not a lot of them, but there's other guys. Definitely, Zion Logue looks the part. He just does. Ingram Dawkins looks the part. We're going to see with Jones this coming year. You're going to see with Williams this coming year. Those guys look the part now. That's just those guys. They're not even starters. I'm not even mentioning. Zion Logue is probably going to be a starter at some stage. But I'm not even talking about Jalen Carter. So when all that added up, you saw a situation where Georgia's totally dominating in the one category that shows you if you got big guys or not, which is the run game. And in that Tennessee game, which I went back and rewatched, Georgia had 274 yards of run game. I mean, Zamir only had 55. Nobody had more than 104, which was James Cook. Tennessee had 55 yards rushing. They could not do what they wanted with the big guys. And that's the difference right now between Georgia and everybody else. That's the difference, certainly in the East. Could you tell the difference against Alabama? A little bit, a little bit. I was talking to somebody that I really trust that has a lot of inside knowledge in the NFL as well as college football. And I said, it's amazing Georgia didn't blow Alabama out in this game. I mean, Alabama stuck in there. Kudos to them. But they couldn't score. They were not scoring. They were kicking field goals. And Georgia was goofing around the first half. They had to get there, but they were fortunate that game was not a blowout in a real nasty way. But that shows the pedigree of those Alabama players. Those are the two programs in this league that have the talent level that nobody else has and the depth. Now, Texas A&M is going to make a run at it, and probably, we'll see how that goes. I think Ohio State has the same sort of talent. I don't know if they have the depth, and that's what we're going to see from here on out as 2022 moves along. Does anyone have the depth that Kirby and them have developed? I don't know. But what Gary Danielson said about first, second, and third string, that's exactly right. Everybody looks the same. It's crazy.